The biggest myths to debunk is being a chef puts you on the way to being a celebrity. You were cooking in nameless kitchens as a faceless cook for 17, 18 years before you even got in front of the camera for the first time.
That's the most unglamorous profession out there. Like even today, if there is a clogged drain, I'm the one who's unplugging it. You have to get your hands dirty. What was your first day like? I was given a knife and I cut my hand. Literally 5 minutes into entering a kitchen, I was in the hospital.
So my idea of a kitchen was always लकड़ी का फट्टा होगा, उसके ऊपर एक पतरे वाले चाकू से ऐसे करके. I was scared.
It's a physically demanding job. 25 hours a day. Sometimes I question myself, why am I doing this?
There were always 50 male chefs and maybe one female chef. Khan Samas, male rakabdars used to cook 500 kilos of biryani at one go. Masculinity, 500 लोगों की बिरयानी बनाते थे हमारे. It's the narrative.
It was a very blue collar job. Almost the rejects of society, felons of society. Everybody around me is like 6 feet tall, huge men, and I was a little tiny person in the kitchen. Physical disadvantage. And I entered the kitchen thinking I'm the best thing that's happened to culinary. Well, I have arrived, make way.
To have a 20-year-old come and say, chef, you know what, it's my girlfriend's birthday tomorrow. Can I have 2 days off? I want to take her out over the weekend. And it wasn't me who changed me. It was they who changed me.
I think pursuit of excellence is always going to be uncomfortable. People have to make their peace with that, especially the younger generation.
Are there some foods in India that now are getting that stature of being a superfood?
The word superfood, it's a marketing stunt. In Dubai, in most of our kitchens, we use a lot of ghee.
Right.
Would you eat the food that you cook in your restaurant? No. That why do chefs eat the simplest of food and sort of the same food every day?
Especially with 2 kids who wake up at 6 a.m. and a job which is 25 hours a day. It's hard.
लेकिन हमारे उस्ताद जी कहते बेटा अगर प्यार से पानी भी नमक डाल के पिला दो ना किसी को तो वो भी हड्डियां मजबूत कर देता है. As a civilization, we have been very effect first. We've said, yeah, eat it because it's good for you. Even with haldi, right? And it took a German company to start patenting haldi for us to realize, wait, it belongs to us.
Right. What are your takes on people who are cooking? I'm even cooking on YouTube.
My social media, it's at least 10 days behind my real life.
In fact, that's a lot to do with the fact that why I am not on social media. I'm not brave enough. This is something they don't teach you in culinary school and they don't teach you on the line as a cook. Everybody aspires to have that restaurant one day. You become a chef because you love cooking. And the more successful you become, the less you find yourself behind the stove.
And the moment you turn the gas on, it's muscle memory into us. You forget where you are. It's you and it's your space.
So food is perhaps the most universal language that we know. Food is emotional, it's nostalgic. We don't just taste it, we remember through it. For me, special moments as a mother are the simplest ones. Sitting down for dinner with my daughter, sharing a meal, just talking about our day. And beyond that, food, I feel, certainly for India, has always been at the heart of all our family togetherness, whether it's Eid, Diwali, Christmas, or just even everyday meals. It brings everyone to the same table. It's interesting though that while women typically cook every day at home and pass down recipes through generations, the professional kitchens that celebrate that same skill are still largely male-led. Different values are being added to the same skill for various reasons. It is in fact, of course, one of the most gendered industries in the world. Globally, most chefs are men. In the UK, 4 out of 5 chefs are men. And as you move higher up in leadership positions, the numbers get even smaller for women. So only about 6% of Michelin-starred restaurants are actually led by women. So for every 1 woman at the top, there are nearly 16 male chefs. There are many statistics like this. And in this episode today, we will be exploring why and if this is changing at all. We will also explore a shift towards more healthy eating and the emotional connections that we have with food. This episode is supported by Borges, a 125-plus-year-old Mediterranean brand present in more than 100 countries and one of the strongest legacy brands in India. Borges India is a 100% subsidiary of the Borges International Group, available across the length and breadth of the country. From olive oils and pastas to table olives, nuts and infusions, Borges stands for a refined, mindful way of living. Make life gorgeous with Borges. Hello and welcome to All About Her, and today we'll discuss all about food, identity, industry and evolution. So our first guest is a chef who has redefined the way Indian cuisine is perceived on the global stage. Known for her innovative approach, modern storytelling through food, and I think a deep respect for ingredients, she has built a body of work that is both rooted and also boundary pushing. I mentioned earlier that about 6% of Michelin restaurants are led by women. Well, she's one of them, the only Indian female chef with her acclaimed restaurant Ghee in Bangkok achieving the rare distinction of having 2 Michelin stars. She's also partnered with Bang in Mumbai and in Gurgaon. So please welcome Chef Garima Arora.
Thank you.
Thank you for making the time to be with us today. And also joining her, we have someone who has not only mastered the craft of cooking, also brought food into the hearts of millions through storytelling. So from running successful restaurant ventures across the globe to becoming a very familiar face through television, digital platforms, really shaped how India experiences its own cuisine, making it, I think, both accessible as well as aspirational. A true ambassador of Indian food and culture. Please welcome Chef Ranveer Brar.
Thank you.
Thank you both. I think I asked you off camera if, like doctors, we address you as chef at all times, or what is the typical culture?
Ranveer is good.
Garima is absolutely.
I'll try, but I feel like I keep saying chef. Because anyway, I'll come to the professional aspects of becoming a chef and going to culinary school and all of that a little bit later. Because this podcast is called All About Her, and both of you have been on multiple platforms talking about your journeys and food, I wanted to start by the her aspect of it, because in the little bit of research that I did, and I think some general opinions people have about the cooking industry or the culinary industry, it is one of the most gendered industries in terms of the statistics. There are not many women, especially the higher up the top you go, those numbers become less and less in terms of people who are helming restaurants or really the face of food, so to speak. And they say women, of course, cook in the kitchens, but men become the face of food and they become celebrated. 2 reasons that come to mind: talent. Is it that men are more talented? And the one man that we have, actually we've had very few people who are of your gender on this show. I just want to highlight that I think you're the 3rd man that we've had on All About Her. So you're representing, I don't know if you want to be representing your gender, but whether it's talent or whether it's the system that doesn't potentially support women being there, and we can talk about that. So I thought firstly, as a woman, if you could address that and tell us what you think.
I think you're absolutely right. Statistically, factually, yes, there are more men in this profession than there are women. But is there a conspiracy theory to keep women out, or is there a open, clear bias? No, I don't think so. There is. You have to understand it's a very hard job. It's a physically demanding job. It's 25 hours a day. It's relentless. It never ends. Sometimes I question myself, why am I doing this? I think we do as chefs every single day. But it's harder for women because it's time away from family. It's time away from so many other things that we hold dear, that we also sort of, it's a parameter for success for a lot of women as well. You know, having family, having time for your kids, that's something women enjoy as well. And I think it's very fulfilling for women to also go down that road. But this profession sort of takes away from that. It's literally time away from all of those things that, you know, you work towards having a happy life for. So you kind of have to have a death wish when you choose this profession, I feel. But having said that, it's you know, as years go by and you move up the chain, it becomes harder and harder to sort of stay away from other things in life. And that's the reality of it. The ground reality is just that. So as somebody who's hiring chefs, who wants good chefs in my kitchen, I don't care they're man, woman, alien. I don't care where they're coming from. I just need people to show up.
Right.
I think that's the main thing.
Right. So then that leads me to feel that it's not the absence of talent. Apparently there was some show called the Tournament of Champions, where I think it was the only blind tasting show where they blindfolded the judges and then everybody competed, and when they gave in the dishes to be tasted, of course they were blindfolded, and it's the only cooking show where no man has won. So then people are saying, oh, maybe if they took the blindfolds off, is there actually a bias towards men? And I thought I would ask you as a man if you've ever sensed any kind of bias towards men, especially in this industry. Why do men keep winning the accolades?
See, I'm going to take off a little bit from you and then from Garima. So we are broadly living in a patriarchal system. There are subsets in the patriarchal system which have been taken over, which have been leveled. And there are subsets that, by the nature of those subsets, will take some time to get leveled, right? Right from the time money came in and barter went out, man realized that now I can manage things because man cannot manage multiple things, right? So from whatever I derived, that with money came singularity. With singularity came control. With control came patriarchy. Cooking is not about control. It's like any other art. It's about letting go. But if I look at professional kitchens, there's one emotion that overrides everything that says you, as a chef, you need to be in control.
Right.
As a chef, you need to be in control.
Right.
Control, this whole control and the importance of control in a functional commercial kitchen is automatically derived from patriarchal value of control. If you were to remove the art of cooking on one side, the talent on one side, the only thing that stays is control.
Right.
Right? As men, you're hardwired to control whatever 2 or 3 variables you can, because you can't manage a lot of things. So you singularly, you go after whatever. Men are hunters, right? They know, they go like this, they hunt and they come back.
And they're not natural multitaskers.
Women are natural multitaskers because they've been gathering, they've been farming while the man's out doing his thing. They've been doing 20 things at the same time. It's very important to understand commercial kitchens from this narrative of control that has been imbibed into a commercial kitchen. And once you remove that narrative and bring it and level up the playing field to what it's actually supposed to be about, cooking great food, men have no upper hand at all. In fact, they don't have an upper hand.
Right.
And that's how I look at it if I sort of zoom out and
Right.
look at it from a broader patriarchal narrative in my, not now, Escoffier and all these great times that we hear about, European chefs, nouvelle cuisine, everything that you read about it, there were always 50 male chefs and maybe 1 female chef is spoken about.
Ji, yeah.
Khansamas in India or rakabdars or whatever, there is always these old, aap Lucknow mein chale jayenge, there's always stories of these male rakabdars who used to cook 500 kilos of biryani at one go, this and that.
Right.
They're always, and those stories are woven around either masculinity, 500 लोगों की बिरयानी बनाते थे हमारे अब्बा और हमारे ये जो हैं ये, you know, so it's the narrative that has made it like this.
Right.
And in today's time, when we sort of mechanization's taken over, when a lot of the unnecessary labor is out of the way, the field is getting leveled, and with time, hopefully, the art is going to take over the control, and when that happens, this equation is going to reverse.
Interesting. So I think one thing that we can agree on is that there's no difference in the skill. As you said, that there's no advantage that men have, certainly when it comes to
They have a
cooking
disadvantage.
food. Perhaps they have a disadvantage. When it comes to like you made some references to times past. I'm saying the only book I read about cooking was Kitchen Confidential, because it was very cool to learn about Anthony Bourdain. He was very this rebellious character. And that established how kitchens are male toxicity and high pressure, burnout, all those things. Like, for example, even in a Martin Amis book about, like, you know, stock markets, it's a similar kind of atmosphere, which is where men can thrive and women might not. So that kind of, I feel it might still exist, like you said, perhaps now with mechanization coming in, people, you know, it not being physically about I'm macho, I'm strong, everyone can do it, perhaps that'll change. But to talk about the fact that that environment perhaps does exist. Has that been your experience, Chef Garima, in terms of the kitchens that you've worked in? Have you felt that things like burnout or working hard, or they say there's a military structure that the kitchen is inspired by, where there's a hierarchy, and that's important because otherwise everything can go to chaos. And my understanding is that that's patriarchy, that is what is determining that. But I also imagine if there wasn't order and there wasn't someone to look to, then when you're cooking for 100 people in a timely way, that things will fall apart. So to be able to run a restaurant, for example, what is the atmosphere like in the kitchen?
So this has definitely changed over the past years. I think kitchens for the longest time, they attracted, it was a very blue collar job, wasn't it? It attracted sort of almost the rejects of societies and, you know, felons of society. But over the period of time, that has changed. It's become a very cerebral job. It's attracting Harvard graduates and microbiologists and all these sorts of people. And there's a big shift in the atmosphere in the kitchen. This shift I've seen over the last decade or so. When I started work, it was in some tough kitchens. It was hard work. I won't deny that. I left when I was all of 20 years old. Worked my way through kitchens in Paris, Copenhagen, found myself in Dubai. Most places I worked legally, some of them were illegally, just to get that experience. But yeah, they were hard kitchens to work in. And when you are sort of competing to work in the best kitchens of the world, they are very coveted spaces. There are only like, say, 8 or 10 open positions available to hire, right, or to have. Once you're in an environment like that, everybody wants those positions. Yes. Everybody wants a job there. So yes, it's hard work. But like I said, I think this has sort of been true throughout, and I've learned from some of the best chefs that I've worked for, that, what is it that you look for in employees? People always ask me, how did I end up working in one of the best kitchens in the world? I started as an intern, and on my last day as I was leaving, they offered me a job, and I stayed back, and that changed my life completely.
And what was that best kitchen in the world?
It was a Noma. Right. Yeah, so I worked as an intern for free. Wasn't paid, 3 months. And I know there's a whole controversy around unpaid labor and unpaid internships, but that changed my life. If I didn't have that opportunity, I probably would not have left the country. I probably would never have had that opportunity. Anyway, having said that, that's a whole different topic. But having said that, I think it was when I was offered that job, and there were only 8 positions for full-time employees, and I was one of them. And when I got that job and I started working there, I was the only woman in the kitchen at that point. So yeah, it was hard. It's hard, and the competition doesn't come from top bottom. It almost comes from bottom top, because everybody is vying for those positions. People are extremely aspirational. A lot of opportunities come out of having worked in kitchens and restaurants like that. So everybody wants a piece of that, and that's where the competition really comes from.
Do people play fair?
No.
Like, for example?
I mean, okay, so I'm in Scandinavia, right? Everybody around me is like 6 feet tall, huge men, and I was a little tiny person in the kitchen. So I'm also a physical disadvantage. I've been pushed around, and all those kind of things happen, but you take it in your stride. Right. Luckily, I had a very, very good boss, Rene. I know he's under a lot of heat lately, but I remember when I started in the kitchen, he came up to me and said, "You're the only woman in the kitchen. I understand how difficult that could be, and if ever you feel uncomfortable, you come and you tell me directly, and I'll take care of it."
Really?
So I work with that kind of a person. So that always helps.
Before I come to Chef Ranveer, for example, what would you go to him with, and how would he take care of it?
I never went to him for anything. I took care of it myself. I'm Punjabi, man. You think who are these Scandinavian men in front of me?
Yeah. Are there now, like, mental wellness is a big thing, burnout is a big thing, and now it's kind of mandatory to have certain things. Sexual harassment has to be a body that looks into it. So in kitchens, one thing is what's on paper, and one thing that's actually looked after. Is mental health something that people look out for, or then is the expectation that you must look after yourself at the end of the day?
I think there are now hardwired safeguards that are coming in almost every, at least big organization, when it comes to burnout and mental health. With respect to smaller organizations, I think the good thing is the newer generation is demanding that, right? We grew up with a different vocabulary around us.
Completely.
Like you said. We grew up where like the reason I got attracted to kitchens was these were a bunch of people who wouldn't fit anywhere, and yet they just seemed so in place in a kitchen. Now those were the kitchens when I joined the kitchen, right? And their claim to fame were not having slept for 5 days and run this banquet, and those were the kind of conversations that we've grown up with. And whether you like it or not, when you're learning from those people, it tends to get hardwired into your being as a chef. We took a lot of pride in sort of staying up and working 23 hours, going to sleep for an hour, and then coming back again, and then, and for me, for the longest, that was the benchmark, right? Till, I'd say, 8-9 years ago, when I started doing my own restaurants all over again, I took like a hiatus for 4-5 years. I said, don't want to do restaurants. That's when I realized this new generation, they don't think like us. And they have the right reasons not to think like us. You know, the world's changed. And that's when offs became important. Like for us to go to a chef and say, I want a day off, it would really, unless it was your birthday.
Birthday, somebody died. Yeah, somebody died. And then it's like, let's see.
What justifies a day?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, you know, and to have I'm sitting in my office and to have a 20-year-old come and say, chef, you know what, it's my girlfriend's birthday tomorrow. And I haven't gotten a day off last week. Can I have 2 days off? I want to take her out over the weekend.
But inside you're rolling your eyes. Saying,
Yeah,
"God,
totally.
Of course.
Of course. Listen, let's be honest.
That's not how you've grown up,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
And I think it took me 6 months, 8 months, and it wasn't me who changed me.
No.
It was they who changed me.
Right.
And that, I think, is here to stay.
Right.
And that is why bigger organizations have hardwired it in their DNAs. You have at least 6 days off in a month, if not 8, in kitchens. You can't work more than 10 hours.
Yes.
Smaller organizations, they know that this is the undeniable truth going forward, and they're factoring in
Yes.
a different definition
Right.
of achievement of working in a commercial kitchen, of being a chef.
And this is compatible, you feel like, with being successful or running a restaurant today? I feel like you're shaking your head.
I'm like, he's being very gracious to
Yes,
his
yes.
employees. He
Yes.
works 7 days a week, 24/7. I know.
Exactly, but that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. So
But
then you...
that's not me. I would not do that. For example, I will still, what has worked for me, I will stick to it.
Ji.
What has really worked for me is not celebrating burnout,
Right.
but applying myself wherever I can.
Right.
Switching off, but then switching on to something that helps me get there.
Right.
Right? I might switch off from the kitchen, but I might switch on to, let's say,
Kalvi
this book
Python.
that I've been reading, or
Yeah. I think pursuit of excellence is always going to be uncomfortable.
Yes.
People have to make their peace with that, especially the younger generation. It's
Yeah.
always not going to go your way. It's not going to be comfortable. You're not going to high-five your chef after service every time, drink beers with them. That is not how life works.
Right.
So it's going to get uncomfortable. It's, yeah, you know what I mean.
The other thing that is a part of this is, like you said, other things are important in life. And you've become a parent. Now, 2 young children, one is 1, one is 3. So then the desire to be away from work is at its most, I imagine. At least it was for me. The only thing that I felt torn by was, I want to be present for my child, especially in the early years. And you can't be, as you said, work-life balance is a myth. It doesn't exist. You cannot be everywhere at once. You have to choose. And when you choose, if you can manage to be present where you are, that is the best that you can achieve. At least what I've chosen, let me enjoy. While I'm at work, I'm thinking about my child.
Yes.
While I'm with my child, I'm thinking about my work. Then it's a khichdi. So one question is, how do you deal with that now, having become a parent? The other question is, do men at all think about these things? And tell us, because you said, I don't know whether you highlighted the gender of being a mother, wanting to be in different places. Do men think about wanting to be at home or wanting to be with their children? Do they say, okay, someone's looking after my child, that's my wife or that's my mother? Is it different for men? I'll ask you first.
Yeah, I think it's unfair to generalize.
Okay, let's just ask you.
Yeah, I think different friends of mine, they react very differently to parenthood. The first stage is obviously denial.
Of having become a parent.
Of sort of, saying, what, so life's going to change? Wait, it's going to change.
Yeah.
I think that's the common part
Yeah.
that I've felt. But then some, just immediately when the baby is born, you see a transformation. You see, like they were always waiting their life to do this, to be a dad. Some warm up to it. I'm the kind of guy who warmed up to it. I'm the kind of guy who sort of, who took 6 months, 7 months to actually understand the change that is happening and to feel it coming from Ishan. And now, like I said, the only thing that I do, and one of my German chefs used to say this, he used to say, the problem with you Indian chefs, I tell you cowboy, and he used to call me cowboy.
Cowboy.
So he says, cowboy, I tell you the problem with you Indian chefs is, he said the exact same word. When you're working, your mind is at home. When you're at home, your mind is at work. Just be at one place and one time, bro. And that stuck with me. So I think for me, that is the most important. Even with Ishan, and that's how I deal with it. When I'm there, then I'm 100% there. Then the phone can keep ringing.
Thanks a lot, Shafi.
That's why you don't answer calls.
So I think, and my phone's perpetually on silent for the last 4 years.
I never
It
pick up my
rings.
phone. I never pick up the phone.
So I think that for me, that's the formula. That
Right.
I don't count hours. I say when I'm at one place, I'm completely there and
Right.
extract the most out of it and then switch
Right.
off.
Just a couple of things that made me think when you said that. One was that, in 6 months, it takes you to do that. It took me, I think, a couple of weeks to actually bond with my child. And Kunal said he was there the moment she was born. He was ready to jump in front of a bus for her. And I was like, really? I feel like so much changes in 6 months. It's actually your journey, and you will know this because being prepared for becoming a parent is something that you don't have the option for, especially I think if you're somebody who's producing that child within you, because your body is changing, your hormones are fluctuating, then you give birth, they might be needed if you're breastfeeding, if you're not still, then perhaps you're not physically so required. But a lot of people say that aspect of breastfeeding and having to be there, that can be intense. So for you, you being present at work might have been something that you dedicated yourself to, but when you felt pulled in another direction, what happened?
So I was never the maternal kind, right?
I don't know what a maternal kind even
Yes,
means.
I really don't. So me and my brother are 7 years apart, and everybody thought I probably played more of a motherly role growing up with him. It was exactly the opposite. I really couldn't care less. But having said that, I think the minute Aham, that's my son, the minute Aham happened, a switch flipped. Yeah, all the babies in the world became cute, and I wanted another one, and another one, and another one. I don't know. For me, something changed.
Yes.
And yeah, I really enjoy being a mom. I really, really have a lot of fun with my kids. They've taught me a lot of things, actually. Prioritize stuff, taking care of myself, how important that is. And generally learning to live in the moment. Because I've always been a planner. I'm the kind of person, I mesoplast my child's birth, man. I set it up the entire cupboard was set up with onesies, snuggies, his swaddles, everything was labeled, the cot was set up. Before he was born, everything was ready to go. And the minute he happened, everything that I'd said I will never do almost became a to-do list. I'm never going to give him a bottle. I'm never going to give him any screens. All of that changed.
Right.
And I now understand I will never judge another parent.
Yeah.
You go on airplanes, you go in malls, and you see other parents. You're like, my God, what is? I understand now. I get it.
Yeah.
So, but having said that, I think it's very important for women to build around themselves an ecosystem that helps support. It takes a village, and you need to build that village very consciously.
What was the most supportive thing for you?
My husband.
Really?
I couldn't have tailored, made, ordered a better husband. He's
a great
He's
guy.
special. He's really, really, really special. So he jumped right in. He took the night shifts. He helped me through everything. He was ready with his research, knowing what I'd go through postpartum. He was there throughout, not just with the first baby, but also with the second one, and more so with the second one. The space he gave me to sort of come into myself and for me to get back to my work, and he knows how important that is to me.
Amazing.
I love being at my work. The first time I went in, I was in 3 weeks postpartum. I was back at work. And I felt so good. I felt so nice.
Yeah.
And he understands why that's important for me.
That's amazing.
So,
I don't know if it's a personal question, but now with you in Bangkok and him here, is that tough?
He's now in Oman. Now he's
that's
another world
other
whole
conversation.
Other thing. So he was with me in Bangkok for a year and a half, where he had taken some time off work to help me get back to things that I wanted to do. And that year and a half has come to an end, and he's back at work.
So that's challenging.
That is extremely challenging. And it's a very new development. It's like 10 days since he's left. So I'm sort of now picking up after the things that he did for the kids.
Yeah.
It's
There are challenges. Both of you mentioned the early times, and I just wanted to ask if you would remember your first day in a professional setting and what that was like.
Like I said, I just loved the misfits. So I used to work around in these small kebab stalls of Lucknow.
Yeah.
So I loved those characters and how they sort of were so outlandish, and they storytellers, and then I worked with one for 7-8 months, and so my idea of a kitchen was always that कि एक लकड़ी का फट्टा होगा, उसके ऊपर एक पतरे वाले चाकू से ऐसे करके प्याज काटने हैं, फिर ऐसे हाथ पे काटने हैं, and sort of only thing that you need to have really clean is the surface and your duster, jhadan, right? And then suddenly I joined hotel schools, and that was my first. I go to this place and it is all stainless steel tables, and we are wearing these white chef coats that you see, and for me, I was scared because that was not what really sucked me into the business. Yeah, I was like, then I will become this what I didn't want to, just another doctor, just another engineer, just like a product of a system. And so that's basically the fear was the first thing, because what I enjoyed most was, कहीं भी बैठ जाओ, 4 ईंट लगाओ और लकड़ी लाओ, चालू हो जाओ यार. That's your magic. And I think, but it's just the first time I cooked in that professional kitchen. I realized it's where you cook really doesn't matter, man. It's just it's you, your ingredient, your headspace.
Yeah.
And that for me was that fear of being one of many out of a production unit,
Yeah.
Tuck, 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 tuck. That is what I very clearly remember when I first entered.
And how did you then carve individuality in that kind of atmosphere?
It's very, so like I said, the first time I remember I grilled fish for the first time.
Yeah.
And the moment you turn the gas on, it's like muscle memory into us. You forget where you are, you forget where the heat's coming from, you forget what the pan's doing. It's you, it's the heat, it's the fish, and it's your space. So it's very easy for a chef to carve individuality because you're expressing yourself through a medium that's always around you.
Yes. And they say actually food is not just what is on the plate and what you're tasting, it's the memory that it elicits.
Absolutely.
And so there's so much that is going on. What was your first day like?
In culinary school,
Yes.
I was given a knife and I cut my hand. Literally 5 minutes into entering a kitchen, was in the hospital. That was my first day. For whatever reason, that happened.
Okay, then not very not your first day. Your first day when you recovered and they stitched you up and you
not
came
a very
back.
promising start. But I think what I very clearly remember is my first job. One of my first jobs was at Gordon Ramsay's kitchen, and I entered the kitchen thinking I'm the best thing that's happened to culinary. I have arrived. All of you will make way. But I think my chef saw that, and he very categorically broke me down to help me understand that I really didn't know anything. And I think a lot of new chefs need to be told and taught that humility is extremely important. And I still hold that very close to, as one of the main principles of how I live by as a cook. Even today, I will never hesitate in saying, I don't know what that is. How do you make that? What did you do here?
Right.
I think that you always constantly need to be on that journey to keep improving. Because you can be like, oh, I've got my second style, I'm going to get my third, it'll be okay, life's going to be fine. I'm done. I'm not done. I'm even close to being done.
I think that's an important lesson in life, actually, because a lot of people might go through life thinking they have all the answers.
No, I remember Manir Ustad used to say this. He used to have these wisecracks. He used to say कि बेटा भूत परस्तों की दुनिया है, right? और अगर भूत बनना है तो पहले मिट्टी बनो, और अगर मिट्टी बनोगे जब तक रौंदे नहीं जाओगे तब तक भूत नहीं बनोगे.
True.
So, it's just the world we live in. If you want to make something bigger yourself, learn to get crushed.
Right.
That's how they taught it.
And people have, it's tough, like people hold on to themselves and that vulnerability to be crushed is something that people struggle with now. So I think it's nice when you have people who crush you from time to time.
Yeah.
As you said, it's nice to be crushed. To go back to a little bit the beginning of food, like my memories of food, I'm the worst person when it comes to food. But I saw food as passion in my father, who only cooked when he wanted to. He really enjoyed cooking. I think he was good at it also, and he enjoyed eating it. But he didn't do it very often. So maybe that's why when I saw him being passionate about it. The person who was skilled was Johnny Joe, who was our cook at home, who was very skilled. And for us, food was regimented. Tuesday meant shepherd's pie followed by caramel custard. But it was like we knew what we were eating on certain days. That was Johnny Joe. And my mother cooked, I think, out of obligation. When we went on holiday, whether she wanted to or not, I didn't see that in her. I saw that she was doing it because she had to. So people cook for various reasons. Your memories of people cooking for you growing up, Chef Ranveer, who was cooking in your house, and did you see them cooking out of passion or out of obligation?
My earliest memory, and that's my anchor memory, and I keep mentioning it, is my grandmother.
Ji.
Because that for me was my first introduction to the magic of food. So I grew up in a village with a very, gas nahi hoti thi us time, fridge nahi hote the, and kitchen used to be very dark, smoke-filled places where you really didn't enter. And yet every time you used to say you're hungry, you should just go in there and in 5-7 minutes, just come out with something that was, and just the joy on her face, right? She would wait for you to say that you're hungry.
Yeah.
And that joy on her face when you used to eat, and the whole magic around this transformation that used to happen in this. हम जाते थे कुछ नहीं होता था यार, हम तो मतलब हाथ जला लेते थे. So the point is how sort of that magic happened in such a small, dark, dingy place, and for me that really is still my anchor memory of what food can really do.
Yes.
And in a lot of ways, I lost my grandmother when I was very young, when 7-8 years old.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But a lot of these small things it's like she's right here. And all these are small things, stuff like, don't waste, stuff like pluck only as much as you need, or so on and so forth. I remember there was this hand pump that we had at home.
Yeah.
And hand pump, there always spillage, right? Because you can't really open it and close it like a tap. And she used to make sure that around the hand pump there was always something, so either it's coriander or
something
palak.
that needs the water.
So she's like, she didn't even let that spilled water go waste, right?
Right.
And that, I think that for me, my grandmother was that person.
And is that then, at what age did you decide that this is going to be your professional identity?
16, 17, when everybody wanted to give you a career that would make you successful, right? And that's what we still sometimes do as parents. Whether you want to make him a doctor, engineer, and everything. The scary part was you were just seeing a lot of it.
Yes.
And they were all factory products, speaking the same language, going to the same schools, going to the same coaching centers, in those times used to be very famous, and one just looked like another, and they would take great pride, and for me that scared me,
right?
And that caused me to rebel, to say I will not do this usual stuff.
Right.
So it was not that I knew what I wanted to do,
but you knew what you didn't want.
So I didn't want to be that guy, and eventually, like I said, when I saw a bunch of misfits who could at least do whatever they wanted to. And when they said, okay, so what do you want to do? I was like this.
Right.
So,
Found my people.
Yeah.
So that I think is how I decided that I want.
But I'm assuming in those early days, then there's no money. It's not like it's a, quote unquote, respectable career that, where a clear trajectory. So is there conflict at home when you're having, kya karoge abhi, this is not a proper...
It's always, if you're a kid growing up in the 80s, in a relatively small town, always in a middle class family where they want to get you onto the first EMI as soon as possible. So these are normal conversations that cook on Sundays, and you need to get a house, and who will pay the EMI, and what about the gadi and the car, how long will we keep you at home. So for me, even today, those conversations are not relevant. God's been very kind, but even today I really don't know if I have money in my bank, how much money is there in my bank. My only request to my wife, who handles everything, is mera card na bounce ho, bas itna dekh lena. So that was not my language then, it's not my language now, and and I think what we do as chefs allows us to just believe in ourselves, be ourselves, and just say कि okay, इतनी जगह है, कोई बात नहीं है, गैस रखो, थोड़े अंडे दे दो, मैं अपना काम चला लूँगा यार, मैं अंडे तो बेच ही लूँगा ना.
That is the dream. I think the takeaway is that you should have those difficult conversations if it really matters to you, and those difficult conversations continue today even. Because I still feel, even though it's been many years since the 1980s, a lot of these conversations are still. There's friction sometimes, and that lawyer-doctor thing continues.
And I think it's how you handle it. For example, and Garima and I, we spent 7 months, literally 6-7 months together. And when you're doing a reality show, you're like stuck to each other. There's no. So one of the things that I really like about her is that it's not just how she makes herself uncomfortable, but it's also how she takes it in her stride.
Yes.
And just is so cool about it. As chefs, that's one thing we learn, is to put yourself in. If it's too comfortable, there's something wrong.
Right.
Right. So how she doesn't let it get too comfortable for herself and sort of, quietly keeps bringing on a challenge to herself and yet never makes a big deal about it. Just sort of takes it in her stride and it comes from her mom. But
Does it come from your mom? Why not?
But nazar na lage isliye bola na. Yeah, but I think that's important when you're a chef. It's just important to keep making yourself uncomfortable. Otherwise, you'd never really be able to breach even your standards.
Yes. You've talked about your father a little bit in the podcast I've seen. Not so much about your mother being a reason for this. I don't know if it's true or not. You can tell us.
It is.
So that is there. But we all know now that you were heading off to be a journalist and then you took a sharp U-turn. So of course the question begs why and who was cooking in your house and what were your memories about food growing up?
I think that's true. It's my father. He cooked a lot growing up. So he traveled quite a bit. And every time he would come back, he did a lot of international travels. He would come back and he would try to recreate flavors of things he tried abroad. And back then in the 90s when I was growing up, things weren't so easily available. So he tried to make a risotto, but we didn't have the right rice. So he made with the South Indian rice, and then he tried making hummus, but things like that. But I always remember him having a lot of fun in the kitchen, and quite like how you said, for your mom, it was almost a chore. It's something that needs to get done, right? It's 10,000 things. This is one thing that needs to get done. It was true for my mom as well. But for him, it was a moment where he was by himself, enjoying. It was joyful, it was magical, it was fun. And I just sat next to him. I was all of 4 or 5 years old. I was sitting next to him and watching him do all of that. So I think that stayed with me somewhere. And I tasted all of those things, and mostly I didn't quite like them because, as a 4 or 5 year old, your palate's sort of very limited.
Right.
But I think what stayed with me through those moments is trying to chase something new. And that is something I still enjoy as a chef, as a cook. I always need to taste something new when I sit down and eat, that's what I try to give my guests anyway. It's new in terms of flavors, ingredients, textures put together, temperatures, whatever it is, it's got to surprise you. And somehow as we grow up, that moment is, you don't have many of those moments. You've tasted everything. You know what it's going to taste like, especially if you're cooking, you know what it's going to taste like. But if you think back and remember the first time you had, cheese pizza, how it blew your mind, right? It's that. And I think food still has the power to do that. And that is something that I've taken from those moments with my father. When you taste something, you think, sometimes you like it, sometimes you don't, but you're like, hey, this is different.
Right.
I like that.
And then you wanted to make it, and then you went off to France and did Cordon Bleu.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes. And then, growing up in the 90s, there were very specific professions one would push their kids at. I was never the math science kind of a person, ever. So, then BMM journalism was it. I could write, all right. I mean, I was never much of a writer, and I asked a lot of questions, so I guess I got where I was. And then I worked with the Indian Express for a bit, at Times Now for a little time as well. And then I understood that probably never going to win my Pulitzer, ever. That's not going to happen. But I may have a shot on the other side. But I think this is something I always tell my husband as well, now that he is a father to a daughter. My son's is one thing. My dad told me this growing up. He doesn't even remember this story. We went for dinner to the Taj once. It was a restaurant called Souk. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I was all of 13 or 14, maybe not even in 10th standard. And he saw how much I loved it. And while we were going down in the lobby, he said, "You know how much the bill was?" I said, "No." And he told me the number. And he said, "If you want to eat like this and live like this for the rest of your life, you should be able to earn this for yourself." He doesn't remember this, but that number is stuck in my head. Right? Yeah. And then I think he gave me the strength and the power to sort of chase after what I wanted to chase after. He said, "I will never pay for your wedding and all that. Don't come for me for that. But anything you want to study in life, I'll give you the money." How
amazing. Because, we see these insurance policies now, and people are saving for their son's education and their daughter's wedding.
He paid for my wedding because it was all his friends, and my mother's friend. It was my mother's wedding, not mine.
That's also true.
Yeah. But having said that, I think he gave me an option in life where I could pursue and chase my dreams.
Right.
And then when I realized I was cooking, I went up to him and told him that I wanted to study this, and this is a school I wanted to go to. He was very happy for me.
Nice.
And off I went.
And off you went. Do you think it's important off you go to culinary school and get that degree today?
Yes and no. It depends. Yes or no?
What advantage, if any, do you get?
I think if you can have a chance of starting young and go directly into kitchens, I think that's a very good introduction to sort of this field.
Experience helps.
On-job experience is sometimes the best. But me being from India, right, and when I started off, I wanted to do French cooking. That was in my head. I think a lot of us start off by thinking that, especially back in the day. So I wanted to study French cuisine, and that's why I went to Cordon Bleu. So in that situation, did it help me? Yes. Could I have learned that probably on the job? No, it would have taken me much longer.
Right.
So it got my fundamentals clear. It helped me get the jobs that I wanted to. It set a trajectory for my career very clearly. But is that the only way to do it? No. Not necessarily.
I mean, I feel like your journey was a little mixed in terms of you've had the formal experience, but you've definitely had the hands-on, very rooted in local experience, that kind of, very authentic journey. So, but the question to you is also, do you think that kind of formal education is required?
I always give the example of Karate Kid, that wax on, wax off moment, right? So a lot of times, things that seem unnecessary are sort of getting us ready for the fight.
Yeah.
And if this is what you really want to do, and this is your fight, then, it's always better to get a little bit of structure in. It's always better to get a perspective in, because the point is, it's not just what somebody thinks. It's what 50,000 chefs before you have studied.
Yeah.
And it's sort of the essence of a lot of it. It's like a jacket, you might wear it, you might leave it. Structured education allows you a certain perspective, which is very important to win the big prize. You don't have to spend 3 years doing it, you can spend a year doing it, but it's very important to add structure and discipline and getting up and sitting in a class and sort of reading books and going through the pain of it.
Before I come to a lot of people who do not have that formal education and who are making careers out of this on social media and other platforms, I want to talk a little bit about food itself, because I think that now people are taking a great interest. Again, they said the lockdown, everyone became a chef. People who'd never stepped to the kitchen started baking things. All that happened. There's definitely an interest now in what we're eating. Perhaps people are moving towards wellness. And that's also all about hers, is an attempt to try and be healthy in a broad sense of the word. So just to start that part of this conversation with a simple, what is your favorite thing to cook? And you said every day is something new.
Yeah.
But so
no, man, I don't eat like that every day. I wish I could. That's why I became a chef, thinking that I'd eat like that, but it's not true.
It's not true.
Now, as you grow older, you realize that's not a life like that serves no purpose. It doesn't do any favors to you.
Yeah.
I'm a very simple. I eat the same thing every single day. I eat 2 meals a day, prioritize protein, more veggies, and I eat like that 80% of the time.
But that I will ask you later in terms of what you eat. But what do you enjoy, or what? It can be indulgent. What would you?
But I'll be honest. This is how I enjoy.
Okay.
I find myself having much more energy for the day when I eat clean and I eat well. I think we've gotten to a place where eating clean is almost looked at as a diet. It's not a diet. That's just how you're meant to eat.
Yes.
And if your body feels good, eat like that, and that should be your daily diet, and that's how I enjoy it. I'll be very honest. But yeah, I do. Like I said, I do that 80% of the time, and the other 20% time I'm very, very naughty as well.
So what is your favorite dish in the naughty section?
In the naughty section, okay. Okay, my guilty pleasure is champagne and French fries. You'll always catch me eating that on the weekend.
Interesting. And is that some kind of truffle French fry or just a normal French fry?
No, it just has to be done correctly.
Okay.
Yeah. Now there's a whole process of how I would do it, but let's not get into that.
Okay, sure. And yours?
For me, I think the Punjabi in me, always sort of gravitates towards rich food.
Yeah.
But that's again, it's only 10-15% of the times that you really are doing it. But a good risotto is my guilty pleasure.
Really?
Yeah. For me, I think
Makes
there's
me
something
sound
about
so pedestrian with my French fries, man.
I think there's something about rice and the gooiness of it and the whole comfort that a khichdi or a risotto can bring to you. So, a nice cheese-loaded risotto would be my cheat that I'd be very happy and not feel guilty about at all.
Really?
Or a good biryani for that matter.
So rice, you like rice?
Yeah, I think rice for me is comforting, which is very strange for a Punjabi boy who
Yeah.
used to have rice only on Sundays along with kadhi and rajma. But rice for me is more comforting than roti.
When it comes to like all the modern Indian cuisine that's happening now, these just recipes that our grandmothers made, and now we're just rebranding them and putting them in restaurants. And is there, again, to touch on what you said about wanting to give somebody something new, it leads to us reinventing sometimes the wheel, but sometimes actually coming up with something that is a wonderful crossover of things. So that need to do new things, is it necessary, or can we just serve them with proper credit, things that have been made by our grandmothers in our kitchens for a long period of time?
Both are possible, right? You can do traditional food without the bells and whistles, like it's supposed to be done in the purest form, perfectly. And you could serve that, because that alone is a rarity today.
Yeah.
To me, truffles and caviar is something you can pick up at the supermarket, right?
Yeah.
But say, even a kheer, a simple kheer done perfectly well with the right ratio, I think that's luxury today.
That's true.
A fresh khana is luxury today. I mean, yeah, I think what is luxurious and what's fine dining is sort of can be redefined very easily, and we possibly are at that moment where this definition is going to sort of change very fast. But having said that, on the other hand, yes, you do see a lot of European influence come into our food, and just people sort of reinterpreting traditional recipes. You need everything. You need everything to get to a place where something new can come and happen. So. I wouldn't take anything away from chefs who are doing that. I wouldn't give it too much thought. Even you need everything, and there are takers and people who enjoy that kind of stuff everywhere.
Gee. I feel like sometimes when it comes to fusion food, sometimes, of course, it's personal to personal, but some of them are quite bizarre, and some I feel like when the flavors don't naturally go together, like there's a chocolate momo that someone made, which was odd, but that seems to be quite a forced kind of crossover.
Yeah, I think
Chicken tikka pizzas don't work for me. But sometimes things work, like a chicken tikka bao or a gulab jamun cheesecake. Like you can see that coming together maybe. But your thoughts on like fusion?
I think cooking is a very personal expression, right? And we change as people, and we should be allowed to change as people. What I eat and what I cook today is not what I ate or cooked 5 years ago. How I eat, how I perceive food is not the same, right? Some of it is drawn from what's happening around me, and some of it is drawn from the person that I have become now. And I think food is like that. It is a very personal expression of the chef who's cooking it.
Right.
I remember being a 25-year-old and putting 25 things on my plate, right? Now I'm a 50-year-old and I put 5 things on my plate, and I still think zyada ho gaya hai. Right? So I think there's nothing wrong with one or another. The only thing that I think I always warn chefs about in whatever capacity I can is don't get stuck to an image of you. Because then you're not allowing yourself to grow, and that won't reflect in your food. So if somebody says this is your style of cooking, remember this is your style of cooking today.
Right.
Don't let it define you 10 years from now.
Right.
Because eventually, it's very personal.
Right.
And I think that is the only broad gyan that I want to leave in this space.
Right.
Do what you have to.
Yeah.
A lot of Mozart, when he was doing it, it was just lines and doodles on a paper, right?
Yeah.
And look at it now. Yeah. So there is always a time and place. Food is subjective like any other form of art. The only thing is, if it is you on a plate and you really own it,
right,
and it's not you trying to be a version of you because people like it.
Right.
That's the only thing that I thought that I leave for chefs on the
But that's the trick, because you're also providing things for consumers.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're thinking about what they want.
It's okay to look at what they want, right? But why are they in the restaurant?
To eat your food.
To eat your food. And because 20 people are telling you that this is your genre, your consumer will evolve in the next 5 years. You'll still be stuck with that genre.
Yeah. Yeah.
I call it I hate to put it like that, but a very typical way of putting it is the hair color syndrome. Right? We do not want to lose this image of us.
Right.
At 25, when we are 50, the whole hair color industry is us trying to hold on to an image. I know it's very random, but I do it all the time.
So do I. So do you. We all.
Yeah, all of us
it.
do that,
Yeah.
right? I think when you do that as a chef, right?
Okay.
When you do that as a chef, cooking is more internal.
Right.
And when you do that as a chef, you should not use hair color on who
So
you
you
are as a
should
chef.
grey.
You should grey
Yeah.
as a chef. You should grow as a chef. From inside.
From
you
inside,
should
not
grey.
from outside necessarily. That's your personal
I'm not.
choice.
I use a lot of hair color.
None of us are grey.
Yeah. From the outside, not. But I think that's very important.
Okay.
And we are nobody to judge somebody's cooking style. We're nobody to judge a genre. We're nobody to judge combinations that
Except
work.
you both have been judges on MasterChef.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Very
you are
on
both
camera.
people to judge.
Yeah, I think, but that's a format. You're a judge in a format. So.
But going global, then giving Indian food across the country, across the world, which you both have done, whether it's New York or whether it's LA, whether it's Bangkok and other places you've done, then is it different for when you're, for example, when I was in college in England, Indian food was just chicken tikka masala and naan. And it was like a very vibrant shade of pink. And that was it. So now are you giving them for example, all the wonderful diversity that is in our Indian cuisine? Do you make an attempt to sort of educate them, put those things on the menu in their original pronunciations? Or do you sort of, for lack of a better word, dumb it down or simplify it for an international audience?
I'm lucky that I have different formats across different restaurants to sort of be expressive and creative. Starting from Ghee, I think in a tasting menu, I have the liberty to I can intellectualize it, I can be cerebral about it, I can, faff about it a little bit.
Yeah.
But it gives me the opportunity to be very creative and tell my own story. Anything that you would eat at that menu is not something that we've picked up, from a recipe. It's something that we've created in the kitchen, and every bite you take takes you back home to India. That's what I like to say, or like to feel that it does. So having said that, it gives me a lot of space to tell my story my way.
Yeah.
An a la carte restaurant, on the other hand, not necessarily lets you do that because the expectation of the diner sitting down is very different. In a tasting menu format, you are expected to be taken through a journey, and it's expected to be from the lens of the chef. Right. But when it comes to an a la carte menu, it's the diner that is deciding and orchestrating their meal. Right. So then you have to be very, very particular about that. When they are going to order, everything that's on that menu will result in the same sort of symphony. Right. So you can't control what they order.
And that matters.
So it's the same thing. I struggle sometimes explaining to people I have a Thai restaurant in India. Sometimes I struggle explaining to people the Thais eat a particular way. So it's called a samrab meal where you have everything on the table, something sweet, something spicy, a curry, a soup, everything comes together. And you have to know how to order. It's almost if you go to, say, a curry house as a first-time diner, non-Indian, and order, I don't know, paneer tikka and butter chicken, and then you go, it's the same thing.
Right.
So you kind of have to have the nuance of the cuisine itself. So an a la carte restaurant has that handicap for chefs. And a tasting menu, it takes some more liberty there and more expressive. You can be more expressive.
You'd said you'd taken a hiatus, but before that you were traveling the world with restaurants and ventures. So what was your approach when you went to a foreign place with your food? And especially because your food is so rooted, and India is so diverse.
Yeah, that was the approach.
Yeah.
The approach is just say it for what it is. And a la carte is when you're doing restaurant menus that are not tasting menus, that are typical sit down and order what you want. It's a give and take, right? You give a little bit of what they want, and then you also throw in something that you really want to speak about. Even if it is a 70% in sales, even if it's 70% of what they want and 30% of what you want, that's a very good start. And that's been my learning. My learning's been sort of continue this give and take between what the market wants versus what you want, and how you want to project Indian food to the world. A lot of it globally has been affected by how India has sort of been perceived over the years to now. People are a lot more curious about our country. They're a lot more well-read, well-known. So a lot of the success of being able to, give less, take more, is also because of the image of India and how. But a lot of it also has to do with chefs like Garima, Vikas, who are building that brand of Indian cuisine beyond the stereotypical restaurant. And I think that's basically what you see in menus. A menu is purely, an a la carte menu is a reflection of the people who are sort of eating. And the fact that a la carte menus are changing and they're becoming very India forward and they're becoming a lesser known India forward goes on to show, one, that people perceive India differently, two, people perceive Indian food differently, and they're more open towards trying a lot more. That's been my learning in the last 5-7 years across the world.
Right.
When I look at, when I design menus or when I look at how menus respond to different markets.
Right. So I want to come to the part of the show that I'm most interested in, because I don't know if I'm a foodie or not, but I do enjoy eating, but I'm very particular that what I eat, I want it to be healthy, whatever healthy is. And we also enjoy eating out. I think the trend is now moving towards healthy also in restaurants. Like typically people used to say Indian food is the most healthy food to eat, agar ghar pe bana hai. But when you go to a restaurant, it might not be the most healthy thing, because then the cream and the butter and the ghee and all comes in. So one question is whether that's true, or it's possible now that in your restaurants and in other restaurants, there's generally a trend towards being more healthy, or going out in a restaurant is an indulgence, it's a one-off, and that's when you can let go a little bit. One part of the question. The other part of the question is how we can be more healthy, and if you are actually doing that in your home kitchens and in your restaurants. So the first part of the question I just asked you, do you think that there is more awareness when people come in to have your food and they say, okay, I'm lactose intolerant, I'm vegan, I don't eat this, I don't eat that. Are you also then secretly rolling your eyes at them, or are you a little sympathetic?
I don't think we're rolling our eyes at them anyways. I think, see, what happens is, I'm generalizing it for all chefs, at least, chefs that I interact with. The first thing that changes for you as a chef is your relationship to food. Because you're so close to food, you eventually, all chefs end up eating the simplest of food and the same food every day, right? So and then it's not just a reflection of what they eat. It's their reflection that if you've been cooking for 35 years and your understanding of food is that it's supposed to primarily nourish, then that's probably the right answer that checks most boxes.
Right.
Right? Nourishing is the essence that you want to sort of take for food. Nourishment happens for various reasons, including the intent of cooking. I very strongly believe the intent to nourish is also very important in nourishment.
Right.
Again, हमारे उस्ताद जी कहते बेटा अगर प्यार से पानी भी नमक डाल के पिला दो ना किसी को तो वो भी हड्डियां मजबूत कर देता है. Right? So the intent included. Now, what is nourishing? What is nourishing? It's not necessarily unhealthy or healthy, or nourishing is knowing what you're eating or what you're cooking, knowing where it comes from, using ingredients that you feel good eating yourself as a chef. Nourishing is also trying to cook fresh, eat fresh. Nourishing is also not believing in excess. Just because you want to add taste, you add a little more. It's also believing that actually restraint is what gives cooking its flavor and not excess. So, and then you over these years, you come and sort of form this idea of what food should be like. Whether it is healthy, unhealthy, it checks certain conventional boxes or not, I don't know. But for me, for example, in our kitchen, in Dubai, in most of our kitchens, we almost use no cream, but we use a lot of ghee.
Right.
Right? And because we strongly believe that the only cream that was used in Indian cooking was malai.
Yeah.
Right? And eventually, the fat that was used was ghee.
Right.
So we say कि यार मलाई use कर लेते हैं, ghee use कर लेते हैं, because you're at least being honest to the intent of nourishing people with the right things. Knowing, using the right ingredients, not using frozen stuff, using stuff that is fresh. Those are fundamentals that you tend to embrace as a chef over a period of time. And I think that is the most important part in your journey of being a chef.
Yes.
Would you eat the food that you cook in your restaurant? No. One, because it's already so overwhelming to your senses that you really, as chefs, you don't want to overthink when you're eating.
Yeah.
So you eat the dumbest and the numbest of food, right? So for me, every morning is an egg white omelette and a moong dal chila. Every morning, day in, day out. It doesn't change. And the dinner is khichdi and ghee. Nothing. If I'm staying in a hotel, same dinner. If I'm coming to home, same dinner. I don't want to overwhelm my senses with the food that I eat.
Yeah.
Because I'm already doing that when I'm cooking, I'm already doing that when I'm tasting, I'm already doing that when I'm thinking. Overstimulated.
Yes.
And that is one, that why do chefs eat the simplest of food and sort of the same food every day? Because you don't want to be an exercise in overstimulation. Two, because you understand that nourishment is the most important reason food is here.
Right.
And that layer that you add on top of nourishment is what makes it exciting, whether it is taste, texture, flavor. But the fundamental is still nourishment.
Right.
And that's what I have learned in this whole journey of being a chef. I don't want to say, कि यार ये healthy है, ये unhealthy है. You know, if I'm checking the right boxes with ingredients, with authenticity, with how it is supposed to have been cooked, with the right intent of cooking it, and with keeping my nourishment philosophy in place, it might be branded as unhealthy today or in some cultures or societies, so be it.
But I think that's wonderful to just look at that word nourishing. It's such a wonderful word also because it's true. I think that intent matters, and I think that the question though that you said, and it made me so happy because I eat the same food every day. I certainly have the same breakfast every day, which is also an egg, an avocado, and some, because I like carbs, I need to have some toast. But is it okay to eat the same food, or that are you like missing out on diversity, and how important is that diversity in your diet? Do you think about that when you eat? Are you also eating similar things?
I think he's
every
hit
day?
the nail on the head. Chefs eat very simple. It's the same: 2 eggs, kale, spinach, and some sort of fat like avocados or something. That's my breakfast day in and day out every single day. 2 boiled eggs and greens on the side. But I think I learned this this relationship that Chef Ranveer very articulately put forth, that happens with experience as a chef. That comes with experience. I think you start off by sort of bending the knee to, hey, let me add this to make it more flavorful, let me add this to make it more Instagrammable or what have you. But I think this maturity comes with years, knowing that the respect one needs to give to ingredients, to techniques, to history, to culture. I think it comes with experience. And as you grow older, in your 20s as a chef, literally you're eating out of stale pizza boxes and fried taquitos after service and downing beer every night. And it's right, you are fit and misfits, and that's the kind of lifestyle you adopt. But as you grow older, you realize that's not going to fly. And luckily enough, I took charge of my own health at the right time, I feel. And what most people need to learn, I feel, to do is, you have to form a connection with your body. Nothing which is right for you is going to be right for me, is going to be right for him. You have to learn through trial and error. There's no shortcut around it. Yeah. You feed yourself, see how your body reacts, and see what works for you. Yeah. And all things kept constant. Once you know what works for you, you do that. But everything kept constant. Eating what's around you, eating what's seasonal, eating what's geographically in your area. That sort of is those minimum boxes that you can tick. Yes. The rest is really, it really depends on you as a person, what works for you.
You said geography, and they said that, because I'm so obsessed with being healthy, they said the Mediterranean diet is the healthiest diet in the world. And they're healthy people, and they eat, I just did my blood test, and my LDL, which is the bad cholesterol, is good, it's low. The HDL, which is the good cholesterol, is high, which is good. But I have a gene which is genetic predisposition for heart disease. So I have to keep my cholesterol even lower than normal. But I've always been into eating healthy. And I thought, okay, this diet that is about fresh fruit, it's about lean protein, and the fats that they use, the oils that they use. At some point, we all had vegetable oils, and then Kunal said, out with all the vegetable oils, we're going to have seed oils. Seed oils are what you should be cooking with. So I wanted to ask you this whole conversation, firstly, about diets. Is there a diet that is better for you? As Indians, are we moving towards a healthier diet? And then oils that we use. Is there some truth to using seed oils? or can one just cook in anything? What temperatures should one cook different oils in? Because I think that's the basic. And then I will ask you 3 other ways that one can be healthy, but because the basic of what we're cooking is oil.
There are 2 levels to it, right? One, let's look at the soft level, the culture level, right? Now, culture is expressed through poetry, through art, through music, through food. If you break it down, the fundamental of all culture is agriculture. Most of your songs and music would be driven by harvest, would be driven by planting, sowing, rice plantations in Thailand and so on and so forth. The fundamental of all original paintings, even if you go to the cave paintings, was first hunting, then agriculture, and so on and so forth. So if your culture is founded on agriculture, and what is agriculture founded on? What can grow there?
Right.
So fundamentally, you are an expression of what grows.
Right.
There, where you are.
Right.
That's what you are fundamentally an expression of. This is the softer side.
Right.
Right? Now let's remove the softer side and let's say, okay, it's too philosophical. Let's break it down simply into what works and what doesn't. If you're living in a space, that space is a quadrant of climate. It's a quadrant of ingredients. It's a quadrant of culture, religion, so on, the softer aspects. And most importantly, it's a quadrant of a body type that sort of you are predisposed to. What sits right in the center of the quadrant will fundamentally be the food that belongs originally to the area, right? Not the food that is that you see today, but the food that belongs originally to the area, and that requires a little bit of an effort, a little bit of an understanding, because in the last 50 years there's been so much cultural movement, like you said, and I think that is where the answer lies. The answer is no perfect diet. The answer is you're at a unique quadrant as a human being and geographically. And the answer lies in that quadrant, understanding the surroundings around you, not just of today, but going back slightly deeper to really know what works for you.
So, but that's
Not
what I'm
lamba
saying.
answer.
No, but if you look at Mumbai, for example, you look around, nothing is growing. So what grew here at some point in Maharashtra, of course, if you go, so what, I mean, maybe you can tell us, maybe you can educate us in terms of Maharashtra.
If you were to let's look at 2 communities, right? The Kolis.
Yeah.
And the original inhabitants of Mumbai.
Right.
And the Pathare Prabhus.
Right.
The first working inhabitants of Mumbai. The service wale, first inhabitants. Now, it's not that the Kolis would just eat fish, right? Even now, eggplants were a really important part of their diet. Fish was really important. Greens were a really important part of their diet because they grew here.
Right.
Right? If you look at Pathare Prabhus, whether it is fish heads, whether it is pumpkins, gourds, squashes, all of them were inherently a very strong part of their diet.
I think you're absolutely right when you say that the diet that we follow should come from the place that we live. The couple of conversations we've had on nutrition, even on this podcast, that eating local, eating seasonal has always been stressed. I mean, it's also economically it makes sense. You don't have to buy blueberries or eat strawberries when they're not in season, even though people say berries are these antioxidants. The reason I referred to the Mediterranean diet earlier as something that I follow or have followed is because it's considered one of the healthiest diets. And I think that in India we can draw a lot of comparisons and similarities from their diet in that, we have similar foundations. Home-cooked meals, balanced eating, using fresh ingredients. These are some things I think both our eating cultures subscribe to. Perhaps the only real difference is the kind of fat that we use, in that they use olive oil. And I have always been partial to olive oil, I think, because I know that extra virgin olive oil is really good to sprinkle on your salads, that it's good for good cholesterol that you want to have more of in your body, and that good fat that we were referring to. But something that I stayed away from was cooking, especially at a higher temperature in extra virgin olive oil. And now I'm happy that Borges has introduced a new olive oil that we can actually cook a lot of our Indian dishes at a higher temperature with. without the oxidization that happens. So that's something that we can also consider. And I think that this shift to using healthy oils might help us in this direction that we all want to presumably move towards, which is, you know, just being smarter, being healthier, moving towards wellness. The question of oils and seed oils being good to cook in, is that true? Is that not true?
I think fat sort of is the basis of any meal you cook. And I think that also, the fat you start cooking with, any cuisine you start, so any cuisine you cook, you start with the fat.
Yeah.
And that sort of takes you in that direction, whether you're cooking a Mediterranean diet, whether you are sort of cooking with pork lard, if you're cooking Scandinavian food. If you go back to Thailand, then you're using coconut fat. Of course, if you're in a Punjabi, you most likely will start with ghee.
Yeah.
So having said all of that, fat sort of becomes the first step you take while curating a meal and putting flavors together. So it is a very essential part. Again, am I in the position to say this is better or that is not? I think it really depends on what cuisine you're cooking in that moment and what flavors that you're trying to achieve.
And the temperature that you're cooking at?
Of course, that matters a lot. Like sarson ka tel, you cannot cook it in raw. You have to smoke it to a point.
Yeah.
So this again is, historically and culturally, this is wisdom that is passed on, and we kind of know instinctively. We know what to do with these fats. I'm always of the opinion you should eat everything in moderation. That's how I believe in. It's very hard to keep track of fads and diets, and like you said, are seeds all good? Some days they are, and then suddenly you hear somebody saying they're not, and it's very, very hard to keep track of things. I think, like Chef Ranveer said, I love this quadrant way of explaining things. As long as it falls within that quadrant, I think you're good to eat that. And I guess eat what you feel like, but don't do anything in extremes, and you'll most likely land on your feet.
Yeah. I think that was the advantage of also diversifying your diet, which makes so at least you're getting your food. You're not eating, if you're eating the same thing, then perhaps you're restricting your diet in some way. There must be some superfoods in India because, people talk about blueberries, people talk about, like, I don't know, the broccoli. I don't know if broccoli is a superfood. Are there some foods in India that now are getting that stature of being a superfood? I'm thinking of haldi, that, now we can say, oh yeah, go India.
Yeah.
What are those?
I think a lot of our millets,
Yeah.
for the longest time, very high micronutrient content, and there's this anti-quinoa lobby, and that
there's an
promotes-
anti-quinoa lobby.
that says look at millets first.
Right.
We are as good as quinoa. Why do you spend so much money? But I want to thank quinoa, because if quinoa wouldn't have come, millets would never have really become a part of this conversation. I look at nachni, I look at the smaller millets, and the amount of micronutrients, the amount of calcium that they have is ridiculously high.
Yeah.
I look at our berries, I look at the jamuns and the falsas. And
Which are coming in now.
Yeah, such strong colored fruits that are so high in antioxidants that, so they again, for the longest between trail mixes, we were looking at superfoods, but makhana is such a strong player in that category of good fiber superfood that fills you up for the right reasons. So you always had your share of ingredients. I think it's just as a culture and as a civilization, we have been very effect first. We've said, yeah, eat it because it's good for you. Even with haldi, right? Your grandmother never said it has curcumin and it is this and it is supposed to do this and it'll go into your liver and then it'll clean your blood.
No, she said, ye khao.
Ye khao kyunki tumhare liye achhi hai.
Right.
Our culture has been very effect first.
Right.
Unfortunately, to sell things, you need to be cause first.
Right.
So you need to say, oh, because this happens, that's why it's good for you.
I mean, people just want to know why. Like, why is it good for me? There's a little bit of...
Yeah, that's Ayurveda never explains why. Ayurveda, if you read it, it's effect first. Right? And so our science is engineered differently.
Interesting.
The Western science said cause causes effect.
Right.
Our science says, boss, it's happening, no? There'll be 20 other causes. First, understand that it's happening and make the most of what is happening.
Right.
We'll figure out finding the causes as well. So I think that is one of the reasons, because we are very effect forward in our philosophy, that our superfoods didn't really jump up the ladder as fast, and it took a German company to start patenting haldi for us to realize, wait, it belongs to us.
Right.
And I think that's basically what it is. It's all around us.
Right. No, but I'm saying it's
Moringa.
Moringa.
You know, I remember my mom used to beat me with the with the drumsticks. Yeah.
That's not a very effective way to beat anybody.
That's
really.
probably why she didn't want me getting hurt. But and as kids, you know, there was this moringa, big moringa tree behind our house, and my grandmother used to scrape. She used to dig the roots, scrape the roots, and give us the juice as kids, because it is great for the worms. And we used to be like standing in this line on Sunday for that juice, and it's like, what is going on? We don't want this. Or eating moringa flowers just like that.
Yeah.
And now it's just a thing, moringa, right? Because now you're not starting with dadi saying because it is good for you, eat it, right?
Yeah,
now you have a cause and effect thing where the Western way of thought had to come in and say, because of this it is good for you, and they named 10 compounds which you will probably don't even care about.
No.
But because they have named those 10 compounds as
now there's more credibility and there's more
credibility.
trust.
That's how I look at it.
I see. It's interesting.
A little bit of a
No, but that's it's interesting to see that. But what is nice to know is that all these things exist in our backyard, and we can look to those things as well.
The word
and not look too
superfood,
far.
right?
Superfood.
Who created this word superfood?
I have no idea.
It's a marketing stunt.
Sure.
Of course it is.
Sure.
Let's go
Is
back.
there such thing
Is there
as a
such
superfood?
thing as a superfood?
No.
Who defined superfood?
Right.
A company that wanted to sell a product defined superfood.
Right.
We are at the end of the day at the fag end of a consumer chain.
Yeah.
Right, and I say that with all cognizance of a brand sitting next to you. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we are at the other end of the consumer chain. We are fed information which eventually, directly or indirectly, leads to being a product being sold to us.
Yeah.
Whether it is seed oils becoming big, butter becoming bad, avocado being great for you.
Yeah.
All the information that comes to us has an intent.
Sure.
And the intent is to sell a product. Superfood is a word that has been created for us at the fag end of this consumer chain with an intent to sell a product.
So
what we need to do is understand the effect that it has on our body and find an answer to the effect, whether it is good fats, bad fats. One lobby might come and decide this is a good fat and this is a bad fat. As a consumer, what's important for me is that what is the difference that they're saying is a good fat and a bad fat? Forget about the product. Okay, a fat needs to do this.
Yeah.
That's when I start taking the power back.
Yeah.
True.
Nice.
There's a research that said that all research is actually 100% made up. So
Like statistic, there's a statistic to say
There
that.
you go.
So many statistics. But wellness, then my next question was, what are 3 things that we can do in our diet to be better? And that's what I was going to ask you. But there must be some things that you can, with all your experience, now I understand every body type is different. But for example, I know that you work out religiously. And I know that you say even on busy days, you make more of an effort to work out because you understand that that's so fundamental to your well-being. There must be certain things in our nutrition, in our food also, that certain habits or certain things that we can change that will put us on the right path towards wellness.
Right.
Is that a question that one can answer in terms of a couple of things that we could do?
I'll tell you what I do.
Or that you do.
Yeah, what works for me, especially with 2 kids who wake up at 6 a.m. and a job which is 25 hours a day. It's hard. It's harder than I expected it to be. But having said that, like you said, I never miss out my workouts.
Yeah.
I eat as less as possible. I find I gain more energy the lesser I eat. 2 meals a day.
Are you doing the intermittent fasting thing? No.
I'm not really thinking about it. I eat 2 meals a day at the same time.
Okay.
Prioritize protein, full vegetables, and I do that 80% of the time. It's very easy to get obsessed with eating a certain way. When working out can be an addiction as well.
Yes.
Eating a certain way can get addictive, can get compulsive.
But those are good addictions.
I mean, anything in excess is not. I would say no. So I always do that 80% of the time and keep 20% to have fun.
Right.
To let loose every now and then. I think keeping the soul happy is also very important. Having moments with loved ones, with friends is equally important. And I think having that balance in life is extreme.
What are those 2 times that you eat your meals? If I'm allowed to ask?
One would be around 12 and the other would be around 6:37 just before my service begins, and then that's that.
Moving a little bit away to social media. I know that you're quite active on social media. I know that you're not so active on social media. And I just wanted to ask, because we earlier spoke about professional training being important. And we also spoke about how certain foods and fusion foods, for me at least, seem to just be screaming for attention without having any kind of rationality as to why this dish exists. It's just like, look at me. And those are two of the things that perhaps drive some content creation, is the need for attention, and nobody really has to even speak the truth. Most people are not speaking the truth on social media, and nobody really needs to have any official credibility to be on social media. What are your takes on people who are cooking? I'm even cooking on YouTube. I'm saying if I can cook on YouTube and people can respond to that, then there's a problem, you know. So what do you make firstly of people creating content around food? I can ask some follow-up questions in terms of, then does that mean that to be in the algorithm, you have to give people what is viral, what is trending? Do you feel the pressure? Or you're just, I feel like you don't feel any pressure, it seems. But
I think he's the one creating the trends.
Perhaps you're creating the trends, but you know, like, do you follow like how well your content is doing? And what is the difference essentially between being a chef on social media and off social media?
So the reason for being on social media in the very first place was I was very motivated to be on social media. Because, and this is me, 10, 11 years ago, because I just come back to India and I wanted to really look at it academically as a form of brand building in the new world that we were all stepping into. So I really gave myself to social media on those 2-3 years where sort of, I became a disciple of it, per se. And in those 2-3 years, there were certain linear and certain exponential gains that we had in the space. It helped me build the brand that people perceive me to be. And then eventually, I think it's that law of diminishing returns which you realize, and also the medium and how it sort of finds its own way. That a place where sort of algorithms and stuff that chasing a sort of the elusive.
So then that idealism went away?
That the idealism, and also the being you can't be a disciple of something that's itself not fundamentally stable.
Yeah.
The goalpost keeps shifting
in
today's world of social media, right? The algo keeps shifting, trend keeps. So I don't enjoy it as much as I did when 12 years ago, because there was a certain way you could do things and sort of it would speak back to you. By the time you're doing things, the goalpost has shifted, and you've reached an age where you don't want to sort of hunt anymore. You just want to be, do your own thing. So I think that has changed in the last 4-5 years for me.
So now what is your motivation to be on social media?
My motivation to be on social media is to be able to say things that I want to say. My team's on social media. I have a 15-minute Instagram lock on my phone.
15 minutes a day? Wow.
Yeah. So, so for me, it's the 15 minutes is not about who's posting what. It's basically quickly about understanding what we've posted, how things have done. It's more an analysis that you quickly do in those 15 minutes. Look at those insights broadly to understand where the platform's going, and then you're out of it. And then the team keeps doing its own thing. That's where I am. On YouTube, it's a little different.
Right.
Because for me, YouTube speaks back to me a lot more.
Yes.
So the data junkie in me, wants to know which minute did the viewership drop and at what second did I say that it would have dropped. Not because I probably make a fortune of it, but because it's just that I like information. Most of it.
But
useless.
even not the mechanical information, even the audience,
Absolutely.
I feel are really invested in what they're subscribing to or what they're watching.
So that is where I still would say that 70% of the little bit of attention that I have for social media, 70% of it is invested in YouTube. Because I just like the statistics. It speaks back to me in more detail. I study graphs better, and I look at, I can do a little more. And the other bit is, like I said, unfortunately, my social media, I make sure that it's at least 10 days behind my real life. So I would never
So
on
it's not
Instagram.
Insta at all.
I would never put out that I'm in Lucknow when I'm in Lucknow. You'll probably see Lucknow when I'm back in Mumbai. Because I just feel that there's a certain pressure that you want to avoid of sort of,
Nice. So you don't feel that, there's a trend and your team is not advising you, okay, this is something.
if they
that
start
you have to
advising me, I really get upset. Because the fact is that they are doing the job, but my only point is, we are bad. I am a bad copier. So even if there's some people who are really good at it, who will take something and make it better,
Yeah.
right? I'm not that guy. I will not take something and make it better.
Certainly not copy. I would not at all.
Yeah, not even in this.
So I'm not that guy individually.
Yeah.
And what I am is, you do something which you really feel about. Even if it works 20% and somebody does it better than you, that's okay.
Yeah.
Right? But you did what you really wanted to do.
Yes.
And that's what I want my Instagram to be about, or social media to be about.
But Chef Garima, the fact that now people are cooking on Instagram and that anyone can cook, I feel like there's some democratization that has come in, and perhaps democratization is a good thing, but do you feel like it's perhaps in some way diluted the skill?
No, in fact, the other way around. It's great to see home cooks, our mothers, grandmothers getting this platform. In fact, I take away so much from them as well. Our cuisine is so complex and so vast, it's very difficult to sort of chronicle it all. And I think a lot of it we'll miss out on a lot of it if we don't get to it fast enough. And I guess till there is a coherent sort of move towards doing that, this is the best bet we have, social media. So it's just not Chef Ranveer on YouTube. You have amazing home cooks of different age and different genders.
And they've made full professions, they're doing well, they're making money.
Absolutely, and their content is great.
And their content is
works. Great. I think recipes, if they don't work, it's a lost cause. So
they'll die a natural death.
Exactly. But they actually put out stuff that works. There are little tidbits that help even professional chefs in the kitchen. And more power to them, and thank God for them, because all these little nuskas are not going to dry out if we don't sort of putting them down.
Yeah.
And do you have FOMO from not being on social media? Not at all.
No, she's not that.
Not
she's
at
not
all.
the FOMO kind.
But
I always give this example of the IPL, just to add on to what Garima was saying. It's not just the cricketers who benefit, right? It's also the commentators, the grounds.
Created.
So the whole ecosystem, the fact that you're getting a lot of creators who want to do this, it speaks that the ecosystem's growing, which is a wonderful place to be in. It's, the food ecosystem in whichever way it grows, and it's better that it grows through and through rather than spiking in a few places, because then it's not sustainable growth.
No.
So it's great to see it grow in all spaces.
Right. I just feel like the only difference sometimes is when you're creating content on a platform like YouTube or Instagram, that of course the dish should speak. But if you have a personality, it really helps to elevate your channel perhaps as compared to someone else. So it tends to be, the personality tends to matter, where it may not always, perhaps it doesn't always have to when it comes to an art like cooking, where a lot of people express themselves through the food without speaking. But I think in content creation, if you have not a loud personality, but a colorful personality, sometimes it may be helpful. And then, of course, being fast is very important, because people's attention spans are, I have no idea who's still watching this right now. Probably 3 people. But, you have to cook for 6 hours and then you have to present it in 6 seconds.
Yeah.
So do you find that challenging at all? Because your content has to be concise.
No, we don't do short content. So my recipes are between 12 and 15 minutes. In fact, when we started YouTube, it's been 9 years yesterday. 9 years of
Congratulations.
YouTube. Yeah. What we were told, we hired a consultant, he said 3 minutes your video has to finish.
Yeah.
And I remember I said, okay, but I'll shoot and edit myself because I just love doing it. So, and our first video was a Nalli Nihari, it was 17 minutes. And me being from Lucknow, I was like, no, but I can't
take out these parts.
Right? And the guy got really upset, and he said, I don't want in. Just give me 3 months of my whatever consultancy together. You guys are useless, it'll never work.
Wow.
And then that recipe did like more than 1 million in a week.
Yeah.
So I've always believed that authenticity is the most, being authentic when the camera rolls is the most important part.
Yeah.
That's why I slice my own onions, I chop my own vegetables, and I don't say piche se ye kaat ke de do, ye cut, because I try and be as authentic to the recipe and as in the headspace as I can, because the audience respects that.
Yes.
Also, a lot of your thoughts come to you when you're cutting.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So for me, a lot of conversation comes when I'm cutting, because when you cut, there are 20 things you're thinking about.
Right.
And sometimes something's relevant and just pops out on the camera. And those are calls that you can take in edits.
Right.
But I think being authentic is very important.
Yeah.
I don't think having a personality is as important, but being, even if you're a quiet guy, if you're just the quiet guy that you are on camera, people will love you.
Right. So being true to who you are.
Being true to who you are.
And that's anyway
easier
to do.
Yeah. It is easier to do, but then it's also the like you said, the hair dye effect.
Actually, it's not
Allowing
that
yourself
easy to do. In fact, that's a lot to do with the fact that why I am not on social media. It's very hard to put forth a version of yourself which you are okay with, I feel. I'm an extremely private person, and a lot of people do ask me this, oh, you're too cool to be on social media? What is it? It's not that. It's really, I'm not brave enough. I'm not. And I think if people really found out the real me, they'd probably not.
Nobody is going to know the real you from social
I'm
media.
just saying, but being authentic is important.
Yes,
I think
sure.
that, like he said, I think that's, you have to be genuine.
Yeah, and certainly in a world that is moving towards AI and all, people are seeking out authenticity in a way that is going to have a lot of value, I think, going forward.
So when he's cutting his onions, he's thinking about the history of food, and when I'm cutting my onions, I'm thinking about so you don't want to hear that.
That is my question later on, which I might as well ask now. Can you cook when you're angry, when you're upset? They say you should never go into the kitchen when you're upset. We had a podcast where somebody said that, manglik, a cure for being manglik is cooking. And I don't know much about the subject at all, but she said that one of the ways you can funnel some of your personal angst is through cooking. And then a lot of comments were that, no, you should never cook when you're angry because, the intent and it comes out. So when you're chopping those onions, it's all right to cook when you're angry or upset.
As a chef, I've always been trained to, there's a switch that flips on. You can be angry, you can be whatever, but the moment, मेरे जब मैं चूल्हे पे खड़ा होता हूँ, तो फिर कुछ नहीं है फिर. फिर it is just me in that moment right then. That's sort of, it's just, as when we were training as chef, that's how we were trained. कि chef coat पहन लिया ना, तो अभी तुम बाहर किसी के बेटे हो, किसी के कुछ हो, यहाँ पे कुछ नहीं हो तुम. This is who you are. So for me, I think that's what happens. That I might be angry, but I'm no longer, it's a trance.
Nice.
And I enjoy that. And that's why a lot of times you cook because you want to get into that trance.
Yes. Do you find it
It's a discipline.
cathartic?
This is a discipline of the kitchen that really helps.
Yeah.
It's good to have some parts of your life figured out. And when you enter the kitchen, when you wear your apron, when you're in your chef's whites, everything is in order.
Yeah.
Everything it has to work how it's meant to work.
Yes.
That's kind of the point of it all. And this is where structure comes into place. This is where discipline comes into place.
And I think when you're working with sharp knives, it's
very
forces you to be in the moment.
I learned the hard way, didn't I?
Exactly. Just as we come towards the end of it, a couple of questions on the business of food and running restaurants, because this is something that I think somebody also suggested. This astrologer said, you should get into a business, perhaps a restaurant. You see restaurants coming and then tanking. It's one of those things that are seasonal and that are very high risk. So I wanted to talk about the business of food and say, if it's one of the toughest businesses in the world, would you have advice, both of you, starting with you perhaps, for somebody who is wanting to open their own restaurant today? What are perhaps some non-negotiables that they should consider?
First thing I say is don't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
There are so many better ways of investing your time, your energy, your money, your self-worth.
It's not as grim, but I'm very much there.
I'm just trying to sort of. But my first advice is don't do it.
It's hard on your self-worth to open a restaurant.
It is, and also at some point in time, if you're looking for tangible returns, there are many more ways of getting better returns on investments. There are many more ways of getting better sleep. If this is what you really want to do, and there's a full stop after this, then do it. There are
two different aspects. I think creatively, this is something they don't teach you in culinary school, and they don't teach you on the line as a cook. Everybody aspires to have that restaurant one day. And I'm not saying don't have it. It's not that grim. It is grim, but it's not that grim. It's the love of the labor that really makes you do this, and not in a slight death wish, like I always say. But you become a chef because you love cooking. And the more successful you become, the less you find yourself behind a stove, which is sort of the downfall of being successful. This is something that you struggle with a lot, and I find myself more and more in that situation. You might be opening many restaurants around the world, but how many times am I having that moment which I had the first time when I was in culinary school, peeling my onions and actually humming under my breath my favorite song? It doesn't happen anymore. So this is, I think, people who get into this line are inherently creative people. They are of a particular mindset, and to deal with the administrative side of things is tough.
Right.
So that's why finding good partners is probably very difficult in this line of work. Finding a life partner is easier, but finding a good business partner for somebody who's creative, I think, is the biggest challenge. So if you have that, yes, go for it. If you have that support, go for it. Because you want to keep that spark alive.
Right.
Because you cooked because you love to cook, not because you love crunching numbers.
Right. I think we are towards the end of this. Just a few closing questions, which are more light. Perhaps one ingredient that you could never live without, like that you must have in your kitchen. I don't mean salt.
Yeah. One thing I could never... Right now it's pasta, because both my kids just eat pasta, and that's the only way I can keep them happy. Yeah. I've never had a worse food critic. Like, I've seen my son make eye contact and spit out what I just made for him. So, pasta is it these days.
Are you the kind of person who's going to like make menus for your children and introduce them to
like I said, I tried that for 1 week, realized nothing works.
Nothing works.
Nothing works. Pasta is the only thing
all
that's
that is great. As chefs, people come to you and say, you know what, our kids, and you give them all gyan till you become a parent yourself.
Yeah.
And then you realize that all that gyan you gave to all those mothers who said our kids don't eat was completely useless.
Egg ingredient in your kitchen?
For me, I think it'll be ghee.
Yeah.
Yeah, ghee is a very nostalgic, it's a very emotional thing for me. Ghee is that feeling that sab kuch theek hai yaar. You know, all's well.
It just makes you happy.
It just makes you happy.
So that we've asked this question 3 times on this podcast. We've had different responses, whether ghee is a superfood or not. So we'll take out the superfood tag because now we know it doesn't exist. But it's good for you in moderation. Is that what we agree on?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think our body, fat as a genre is one of the most mistreated genres.
Yeah.
Because it's just that black and white thing. Everything black is bad, everything white is good, and how sort of, I don't want to go into the whole anthropology of black and white, but fat has been that.
Yeah.
Oh, you're fat.
Yes.
Right? Oh, fat is not, just how it's ingrained subconsciously through generations that fat is bad. It took us a lot of unlearning to now realize the urban way, or even everywhere, that fat is actually the most important part of your diet.
Yes.
And having a right fat it's the foundation of good cuisine, and it's the foundation of good health.
Right. Hormones. You can't make hormones without fat. I know this as I'm losing my hormones in my 40s. You need to take fat for them to be absorbed, etc., etc. Whose cooking do you both enjoy the most? Somebody who cooks for you and you're like, I really look forward to this person cooking. I know your grandmother isn't there anymore, but is there somebody who...
I think it's different things by different people.
Yeah,
for
I
me.
agree, yeah.
Yeah. I think, for example, my mom's rajma.
Yeah.
Vikas's parathas. So I think it's different things for different people. That's what, as chefs, we have the benefit of being discernible.
So.
Yeah.
Okay. And for you?
I think it's the same.
Yeah.
Not one person can keep me happy. I feel everybody needs to work hard for it.
Why choose if you don't have to?
Exactly.
Perhaps one myth that people have about chefs that you might want to debunk, like for example that chefs are eating leftovers all the time.
But that's true to an extent.
The chefs make a lot of money.
also true. You're doing it for us.
In today's times, one of the biggest myths to debunk is that sort of being a chef puts you on the way to being a celebrity by itself, by default. I think as people who are sort of standing there in that limelight, it's very important at least to tell people that you were cooking in nameless kitchens as a faceless cook for 17, 18 years before you even got in front of the camera for the first time.
Yeah.
Right? And it's that 17 years which eventually showed up in front of the camera, not me. And it's not just true for me, it's true for Vikas, it's true for Kunal, it's true for a lot of us. And I think it's very important to debunk that myth that being a chef is some sort of a shortcut to becoming a celebrity.
In fact, it's the most unglamorous profession out there. Like even today, having, like said, 4 or 5 restaurants around, but if there is a clogged drain, I'm the one who's unplugging it. That's how it is, because you're in it, your service is going on. You have to get your hands dirty. Yeah. That's just the reality of this profession, and it's hard work. It's a lot of grinding. So and it's unglamorous. It truly is. Yeah. So what you see on screen and what you see up front is not the reality, not even close to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the intent when you're setting out to do anything, especially if it's something like this, which is hard work, which is physically very intense, and which will take you away on holidays, will take you away on the times that you want to be at home, perhaps most. That intent must be pure. And that intent being nourishment, I think, is lovely. To come back to that the purpose of food is to nourish people. And the purpose of someone who cooks that food is, again, to nourish people. Thank you very much for a very nourishing episode, I think. And this is just a small hamper from Borges.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being on our show. And it was lots of fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Soha. Thank you.
So this is just a small hamper from us to you. It's been curated by All About Her and Borges. And it has a few things that hopefully you'll use in your cooking. It has Borges extra virgin olive oil, which I just think is nice to sprinkle on salads, to do some light grilling in, cook pasta in, and of course it just adds like a little final drizzle sometimes to finish a dish. We also have Borges olive oil, which is I think good for Indian cooking, which happens at a higher temperature sometimes, and breaks that myth that olive oil can't be used in everyday Indian cooking, for example. And we have some Borges durum wheat spaghetti. That's pasta from Italy, which hopefully your kids will enjoy because you did say it's their favorite food right now. And both of these are very healthy. They both carry the health benefits that olive oil is, of course, known for. 75% MUFA and polyphenols, which are natural antioxidants which support heart health. I think it's been a really enriching, a really nourishing conversation that we had. I think we explored how food is not just something that we eat, but it's something that shapes our identity, it shapes our memories, and just the way that we live. So I do want to extend a heartfelt thank you to both our guests today, Chef Garima Arora, Chef Ranveer Brar. Thank you for taking the time out to be here today and to just share your insights with all of us. A special thank you to Borges for supporting this episode. At the core, the idea is simple. The most beautiful version of life isn't waiting for a special occasion. It's already here in our everyday meals and moments through their range of olive oils, pastas, table olives, nuts, and infusions. Make life gorgeous with Borges every single day. And thank you for watching All About Her. If you enjoyed this episode, then please don't forget to like, to share, and to subscribe for more such conversations.